Welcome to week number 9. This week our theme is contemporary issues and their impact on supervision. If you remember back in week 6, we saw 2 short videos that highlighted culture and the challenges that culture can have in the classroom. Well, this week we're going to re-explore those issues. We're going to also look at the impact of state testing and how we use data to guide our supervising. There's 2 videos that you're going to look at shortly afterwards. One video is going to focus on one school in Denver that's growing its teachers, the process that they go about doing that. And the second video you're going to look at is going to showcase the pre-conference or the conference period. Those are the specific themes that we have. Don't forget, you also have reading that you need to complete. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a wonderful week. For this week's assignments, complete the required readings, which are chapters 2, 3, and 4 in Sir Giovanni, Starrett, and Chow, as well as complete the discussion prompt for week number 9.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Early College is a 6th through 12th grade school, and right now we have 1,280 students. 7 years ago we had 1,041 students, so I attribute our increased student population to strong teachers, systems, and structure, and that we're providing our teachers the tools that they need to ensure that our students are successful. One thing that I find unique about Denver Public Schools is the investment in growing teachers into leaders. As a principal in Wichita, Kansas, we didn't have a system for observations, and I can recall going into a teacher's classroom and sitting and taking copious notes on everything that I saw. And then I would meet with the teacher and go over all of those notes. And what was I getting better? Nothing. Right? Because a teacher can improve 1,000 things at one time. We're here at MLK, we have a system for that. And we make sure that we give the teacher the highest leverage action step, one at a time, every week. So in essence, we're getting them better faster.
The goal of the weekly observations is to best help teachers move kids. So it's more than just let's make sure that your classroom is in order and managed well, but we want to make sure that we're choosing action steps that are going to make a lesson go from good to great, or take a lesson that wasn't great and then help a teacher script a lesson that is.
That's going to be part of your action step today.
Our feedback conversations last anywhere between 35 minutes and 45 minutes. They start with just providing that praise to the teacher. Then we go directly into what we want the teacher to identify as their gap that was happening in the classroom. We provide the teacher with an exemplar model, whether that is the administrator or the senior team lead jumping up and being in full role play modeling, or showing an exemplar teacher teaching. And we ask the teacher to identify the gap between the exemplar and what was actually occurring in their classroom. And then from there, it kind of guides us into your action step for this week is, and we identify the what and the how. Then we ask the teacher, where can we incorporate this in your lesson plan for next week? The teacher opens up their laptop, we identify the area, and we give the teacher actually time during that feedback to adjust their lesson plan. Then we'll ask the teacher to jump up and get into full role play and practice. Sometimes that's uncomfortable for teachers to be in a full role play and practice, but teachers soon realize practice with us so that you can practice perfect with the students. I believe the observations and feedback has made impact with growing and developing and keeping and retaining our effective and distinguished teachers.
So whenever you see
I think I would be failing my students if I didn't have feedback sessions, honestly. I had a lot of the elements as a first year teacher that I was supposed to have, but it wasn't necessarily as extensive as it needed to be before coaching. I remember my first coaching session, I was like, wow, I'm doing all of this, but I'm not doing it to the full extent that I could be doing to support all of my students. And now I feel like I'm more aware of a lot of things that I could be improving on because of coaching.
All right, girl. Sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me know how it goes. Shoot me a text.
When teachers email you or text you and they're like, I did it. I feel much better about this lesson today. That small little change just made all the difference with the rest of my classes.
Her intentionality around.
We do have a LEAP evaluation system at Denver Public Schools, and that's the teacher's formal observation, and we don't want the formal observation to be a gotcha. And so prior to those formal observations, we're in their classroom coaching them, giving them those action steps, and preparing them to have a much higher score on their evaluation. As an administrator, I want to be able to go to bed at night and know that I've done everything that I need to do to develop my teachers. I want to know that we've coached them and that we've provided them with unlimited opportunities to grow.
Good morning, Ms. Brewer. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So today I called you in because I'm going to do a little pre-conference with you about the lesson I'm going to come observe later this week. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right. So when I come in to observe your lesson, what is your objective for that particular lesson, and what subject will I be seeing?
Well, you're going to be seeing a math lesson for me,
Okay.
and it's going to be focusing on subtraction, and really the strategy we're going to really be working on is the U.S. standard algorithm,
Okay.
but I really want to focus on the regrouping aspect of it.
Okay. So I'm going to see a math lesson, and you're going to be focusing on the U.S. algorithm for subtraction.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So what will your students be doing during the bulk of the lesson?
Well, I'm going to start the lesson by doing a little mini lesson with them and have them all be gathered around on the carpet. And once that is complete, that won't take too long, I will have them going back to their seats and working with table groups and using different manipulatives that might be useful to them while solving questions from their workbook.
Okay. All right. So as they're doing that, the students working in groups or by themselves, what will you be doing?
I will be walking around and, well, after I teach the lesson, I'll just be walking around and listening for if they're using the vocabulary and using the strategies that we just learned. And if I'm noticing they're struggling while they're doing the problems, I'll try to pull a couple of them in small groups, or if they're struggling as a whole table group, I'll just sit down and kind of take some time and see where the errors are occurring.
Okay. Sounds like you have a great plan for how to help some of your struggling learners.
Thank you.
You kind of talked about what you're going to do first and in the middle. How do you plan to close your lesson?
After we are finished doing the table groups, my goal is to have them come back in together as a whole group and kind of analyze what they did, and maybe if any questions they have, we can go over that. And once that's finished, I want to have an exit ticket that's just real short, real sweet, just give everyone sticky notes and solve the problem that I wrote on the board.
Okay, great. So you talked about each aspect of your lesson. What's your plan for how long each one will take?
Hopefully the actual lesson aspect of it will take no more than 15-20 minutes, because I know they don't like sitting in one place for that amount of time. And then from there, the bulk of the lesson will kind of be around the activity. So hopefully I'll give them between 30-40 minutes on that. But if they're not grasping what I just taught them in the lesson, I'll try to bring them together a little sooner. So that piece is kind of up to their understanding of it and what I'm seeing. And then from there, when they come back in as a whole group on the carpet, that part will probably take no more than 15 to 20 minutes. And then the exit ticket, probably no more than 10.
Okay, it's great that you're flexible and you know how your students learn so that you're able to pace it properly.
Thank you.
So, what do you hope that you hear your students talking about or doing during their work time that will tell you that they've understood the lesson or grasped the concept?
While I'm walking around, I'm really hoping that they're using that vocabulary. I'm hearing them say subtracting, or I'm hearing them say regrouping.
Okay.
I'm not hearing, non-mathematical terms.
Okay.
Also, as I'm walking around, I just hope that they're actually grasping the concepts and they're able to implement those strategies and solve those questions successfully.
Great. So, what are your concerns that you might have for this lesson?
Subtraction is hard. So honestly, I hope they comprehend it. I hope that they understand what they're doing and they're actually understanding how the strategies are working. And also that they're not able to see the correlation between addition and subtraction, seeing how it's the opposite, because that can also be a really useful tool for them to see.
Okay, so you're concerned a little bit that they might not remember their addition algorithm, so it'll be a little harder for them to transition to subtraction.
Yes, correct.
All right, so when I come and observe you, I want to ask you if there's anything that you really want me to focus on so that when we do have our post-conference, we can kind of touch base on that and give you some feedback. What would that be?
Watching, maybe listening for my questions, making sure that my questions dig deeper and that they'll allow them to see what they're doing, not and how they're doing it, not just how to solve it. And also looking at my vocabulary, because I know I really want them to focus on using their math vocabulary, but I need to make sure that I'm using that vocabulary as well to help them transition it.
Okay. Well, awesome. I'll definitely look for that. So I just want to do a little recap to make sure you know I'm on the same page. So I'm going to be seeing a math lesson over subtraction, correct? Okay, and your students should be collaborating with each other mostly, and they can also choose to work individually. And then I'll be looking for how you're questioning and what vocabulary your students are speaking with. And then once that's all over, we'll have a post-conference, next week to kind of go over this and give you some feedback.
Great, thank you.
All right, well, I'll talk to you later.
Thanks.